The rules of war on the Ukrainian front lines are completely changing with modern and highly effective military systems. In this new phase, shotgun systems integrated onto unmanned ground vehicles and ruthlessly hunting Russian drones are taking center stage. Air-to-air shotgun mechanisms mounted directly on the airframes of Ukrainian drones represent another game-changing development. Adding to this lethal equation are revolutionary active protection systems integrated onto Ukrainian armored vehicles that launch 32 nets in seconds against approaching threats. This technological trio is putting enormous pressure on the massive Russian army, which has long relied on air superiority right on the battlefield. On the other side, the situation with military modernization and advancements is truly tragicomic. Faced with helplessness against Ukraine's highly effective drone countermeasures, Russian units have begun hastily adapting old helicopter weapons to makeshift ground mounts. The most striking example was captured in a training video that has gone viral on the front lines. A Russian mobile air defense team removed the 4-barreled Yak B-12.7 heavy machine gun from a Mi-24 Hind attack helicopter and mounted it on a simple ground stand with no recoil absorption system. They then attempted to open fire on approaching FPV drones. The moment the trigger was pulled, the enormous recoil force of approximately 1.4 tons instantly rendered the weapon completely uncontrollable. The machine gun violently threw the operator aside, spun 360 degrees on its own, and began spraying deadly rounds randomly in all directions. Fortunately, no one was injured. The instructors managed to duck and take cover at the last second. However, this incident clearly reveals the Russian military's technological desperation and exposes the true reality behind the second army in the world myth. Kiev's small but game-changing military innovations are delivering far more than expected against Putin's army in its current dire state. The effects of Ukraine's armed forces integrating these systems into the fight are already showing up in the numbers. In the month of June alone, Ukrainian forces downed more than 8,000 Russian unmanned aerial vehicles from the sky. Kiev is beginning to clearly dominate the asymmetric air war with these kinds of innovative systems it has fielded. Russian drones flying in the airspace above the front lines can no longer easily escape a lethal round fired from a silent, unmanned ground robot below. Kinetic shotgun mechanisms mounted on Ukrainian interceptor drones are instantly turning DJI Mavic, Molnia, and FPV quadcopters into open targets. At the same time, the 32 net launchers fitted to Ukrainian armored vehicles are making it nearly impossible for Russian suicide drones to approach these strategic assets. Let's now take a closer look at the first major player in this frontline shift, the autonomous shotgun system mounted on UGVs. Developed by the Ukrainian defense technology company Varta, this active protection system called Ataman was specifically designed for ground vehicles. The Ataman system creates a flawless, close-range, kinetic, hard-kill defensive shield against FPV drones. At the heart of the system is the Dozer Artificial Intelligence Optical Detection and Tracking Unit, which continuously scans the surroundings with 2 advanced cameras. The system can autonomously detect an enemy drone approaching at high speed at a critical distance of 50 to 80 meters. Once a threat is identified, the artificial intelligence takes over, begins automatic tracking, and makes the engagement decision within seconds. The moment the enemy drone enters the lethal effective range of 5 to 30 meters, all 8 12-gauge shotgun barrels on the system fire simultaneously. The special kinetic projectiles shred the drone's propellers and motors on impact, causing the threat to explode in mid-air or crash to the ground. The Ataman system's autonomous backup power supply and the ability to mount it very quickly on the roofs of tactical vehicles give it unmatched flexibility on the battlefield. The mechanism covers more than 180 degrees of the upper hemisphere, leaving no mercy even for stealthy FPV drones diving from above. The greatest advantage it provides to the Ukrainian army is the creation of a completely robotic and very low-cost protective shield without expending expensive air defense missiles or putting infantry at risk. The foundations of this autonomous system actually lie in the hard-earned experience of Ukrainian infantry in the trenches and their use of manual shotguns. The Ukrainian army purchased more than 4,000 Turkish-made Hatsan Escort BTS-12 semi-automatic shotguns as a last line of defense against FPV drones. Elite units, particularly the 68th Jaeger Brigade and the 413th Raid Battalion, launched specialized training programs to rain buckshot on approaching suicide drones. This manual defensive reflex, which turned soldiers into exposed targets, is now being replaced by unmanned platforms like Ataman that eliminate human error and risk entirely. However, Ukrainian military innovation did not stop with ground robots. They carried this lethal logic directly into the sky and onto their own drones. Ukraine has turned civilian drones into incredibly effective attack weapons against Russian UAVs by adding shotgun systems to unmanned aerial vehicles. Also developed by Varta, the DroneHunter system is a modular kinetic interceptor mounted on a large, fast carrier drone. The most striking engineering detail of this system is its recoil-free dual-barrel firing mechanism. Because the barrels fire in opposite directions, the carrier drone maintains its balance perfectly when the shotgun is fired in the air. These hunter drones, integrated with the Dozer artificial intelligence, detect enemy reconnaissance drones at 126 meters and approach them stealthily from behind. The moment the hunter drone closes to the effective range of 5 to 20 meters, electrically triggered 12-gauge rounds are fired, and Russian reconnaissance aircraft are instantly knocked out of the sky. The backbone of the system consists of Varta's own electrically triggered Spezpatron series anti-drone ammunition. These special projectile variants can be tactically selected before the hunter drone takes off, depending on the target's armor structure and distance. The cost of this system is so low that a starter kit of only $300 can blind the eyes of Russian artillery guidance worth tens of thousands of dollars. Its operational cost is revolutionary for military budgets as well, because each shot costs only about €6. Operating on a one-flight, one-hit philosophy, these hunter drones work in real time with Ukraine's Delta Digital Battlefield Management Network. This way, target coordinates can be instantly fed into the system, not only from the hunter drone's own camera, but also from a reconnaissance unit or sensor kilometers away. More than 20 Ukrainian frontline units are currently using this system actively under combat conditions, and it has been integrated onto more than 10 different UAV types. One of the clearest examples of how destructive this system is on the front lines is the 30th Mechanized Brigade downing more than 20 Russian UAVs with just a single shotgun-equipped drone. Units belonging to the Azov National Guard Corps have also proven the system's power by downing 6 Russian Molniya suicide drones in succession in the Donetsk region using FPV drones armed with shotgun ammunition. These battlefield examples clearly demonstrate the power Kyiv holds. The greatest capability this system gives the Ukrainian army is the ability to neutralize enemy reconnaissance assets aggressively and at very low cost without needing expensive Patriot or Stinger missiles. This innovative process that is changing the nature of combat also has a defensive component. We are talking about Ukraine's astonishing 32 net launcher system developed for armored vehicles. The passive steel cages long seen on tanks and armored vehicles, which tried to physically stop drone impacts, are now being replaced by active and intelligent systems. Developed by the Ukrainian company Armspec Technology and hardware tested on a BRDM-2M armored vehicle, this new system functions as a fully reactive protection complex. This revolutionary system consists of a total of 32 net launcher modules, positioned at different angles around the armored vehicle, to create perfect 360-degree coverage. This active protection system actually forms only one part of a much more comprehensive BRDM-2M modernization package. Ukrainian engineers have equipped the vehicle with remote-controlled weapon modules, keeping personnel completely safe inside the armor in a secure cocoon. The moment the vehicle's optical camera units or radar sensors detect an FPV drone diving at lethal speed from the horizon, they alert the central processor. The target's approach vector is calculated, and the net launcher tube facing the correct angle fires with explosive propulsion in a fraction of a second. The wide ballistic net launched into the air rapidly opens and entangles the propellers of the suicide drone in its terminal phase. The FPV drone, whose propellers are locked, instantly loses all aerodynamic stability, loses its control capability, and crashes harmlessly a few meters short of its target. This 32-barrel system turns the kinetic energy carried by the suicide drone in its terminal phase against the drone itself, drawing it into a physical trap. The explosive propulsion force at the moment the net is launched instantly disrupts the center of gravity of the captured drone, causing the fuse to detonate early, or the system to lock up completely. One of the system's most critical features is that it can also be mounted over existing passive steel cage nets, creating a multi-layered, virtually unbreakable defensive armor for vehicles. If the nets are depleted, or multiple drones launch a swarm attack at the same point, the underlying physical cage serves as a second, life-saving line of defense. Putin's army has also been trying to develop similar systems. Russia's massive turtle tanks, or traditional bulky cage nets, were helpless against coordinated swarm attacks because of their blind spots. Although Russian companies such as Techkrim have tried to produce similar net-firing munitions, their short 30-meter range and manual operation leave them far behind Ukraine's autonomous armor. The situation has turned into a complete nightmare for Russian drone operators. Vehicles they once easily struck from above have now become active fortresses that catch everything approaching them in the air. The scale of the strategic advantage this system provides to the Ukrainian army on the front lines is enormous. While armored mechanized units have been forced to slow down or hide for months because of the FPV threat in the sky, this active system now allows convoys to advance much more boldly and rapidly. A serious reduction in vehicle losses will enable Kyiv to maintain uninterrupted logistics supply lines and once again project armored shock effect in offensive operations. Another major indicator of how effective these innovative systems have been on the front lines is the growing deep gap in Russia's air defense systems. Looking only at June data, we see that Ukraine's unmanned systems forces destroyed 32 critical Russian air defense systems with precision strikes. This incredible number has brought the total number of Russian air defense systems destroyed since the beginning of the year to a massive 195. It was also officially announced that in June alone, Ukrainian defense forces struck more than 200,000 Russian targets, and that deep strikes nearly doubled. In other words, while Russia's shield in the sky is cracking, Ukraine's own air defense network is gaining increasingly deadly precision. Ukrainian air defense units have begun intercepting 92 to 96% of traditional propeller-driven Shahed suicide drones with very high hit rates. The fact that conventional drones are now hitting a wall has forced the Russian army to take urgent and costly measures on the battlefield. After propeller-driven models proved completely ineffective in attacks on Ukraine's deep rear areas, Russia was compelled to field much more expensive jet-powered Shahed drones. These new jet-powered variants fly 3 times faster than standard models and at much higher altitudes, aiming to evade Ukraine's interceptors. Russian forces are now forced to plan multi-stage reconnaissance routes that search for gaps in Ukraine's electronic warfare and radar coverage, instead of conducting mass, blind bombardments. To close this deep gap and confuse Ukraine's air defense, Putin's army has begun adding new seeker target detection modifications to Shahed drones. Russian UAVs no longer fly directly at their targets. Instead, they draw multi-stage reconnaissance routes that analyze Ukraine's radar coverage areas and electronic warfare centers and change rapidly. Despite economic difficulties, production capacity for these high-speed, high-altitude jet-powered Shahed variants is being rapidly increased at the Alabuga facilities. However, this situation has created a bottleneck in Russia's production lines, leading to a noticeable decline in the overall production numbers of traditional propeller-driven drones. After all the destructive effects these technological cat-and-mouse games and innovative systems have brought to the war, the biggest question on everyone's mind is what awaits both sides in the coming days of drone warfare. When we compare Ukraine and Russia in this ruthless drone competition, we see that both sides have moved to industrial mass production, yet their philosophies are completely opposite. Russia, with its massive production facilities, focuses entirely on quantity, long-range volume, and cheap drone swarms to wear down Ukraine's air defense. On the Ukrainian side, however, as General Syrskyi himself stated, this competition has turned into a clear 1.5 to 1 FPV usage advantage on the tactical battlefield. Ukraine is pulling ahead in this competition not only with quantity, but with an incredible speed of innovation. Fiber-optic cable-guided drones that are unaffected by signal jammers, artificial intelligence targeting, and hunter drone concepts are determining the nature of the war. Ukraine's innovation speed is directly connecting the front lines with technology companies in an organic way through the Brave One defense technology marketplace. The clearest proof that we have moved beyond classic drones is the integration of 5.45mm AK-74 infantry rifles onto FPV drones, creating deadly machines. In addition, cable-guided fiber-optic drones that are completely immune to signal jammers are leaving Russian electronic warfare units completely helpless. Russia's efforts through structures like the Rubicon Center to close this technological gap are once again ending in frustration against every new concept Ukraine fields. While the Kremlin's clumsy military bureaucracy struggles to keep up with this rapid adaptation cycle, Kiev's flexible technology companies are producing a new system every week based on real-time data coming directly from the front lines. In this competition, Ukraine's tactical intelligence continues to nullify Russia's massive industrial mass on the battlefield, keeping Kiev one step ahead technologically. So, does Russia have any chance of stopping Ukraine, which has dramatically increased both its ability to prevent drone attacks and its capacity to strike deep behind enemy lines with electronic warfare? Electronic warfare systems, and especially GPS signal jamming technology, are known as the biggest obstacles in modern drone warfare because they divert drones from their targets. However, the Ukrainian army has developed a brand new technological marvel that will shatter Russia's electronic wall: the APUS-1 Interceptor drone. Developed by Dark River, the APUS-1 is a fixed-wing, ruthless hunter designed to directly hunt Russian Shahed-type loitering munitions and reconnaissance drones in the sky. This interceptor can reach an incredible maximum speed of 320 kilometers per hour and destroys its target either through direct kinetic impact or by detonating its own warhead. The truly revolutionary feature of the APUS-1 is that it can continue its mission flawlessly, even when all surrounding GPS signals are completely jammed by Russian electronic warfare. The system is equipped with advanced optical cameras and digital video transmission channels that enable fully autonomous navigation without needing GPS. Launched from a catapult system in less than 5 minutes by only 2 operators, this drone locks onto its target like a missile, using real-time coordinates received from radar stations. With a cost of approximately $3,300, the APUS-1 is rewriting the rules of defense economics by replacing million-dollar air defense missiles and preparing an inevitable end even for Russian jet-powered Shaheds. Ukraine's multi-layered air defense vision is being supported simultaneously by automatic mini-air defense systems such as Contra-Drone alongside the APUS-1. These next-generation platforms can autonomously track and destroy targets flying at speeds of up to 300 kilometers per hour without any human intervention, thanks to their immense reaction time. The APUS-1's maximum operational altitude of 4,500 meters makes it a perfect killer for Russian reconnaissance drones flying high in search of radar gaps. Instead of wasting million-dollar Patriot or Iris-T missiles on cheap Shaheds, these $3,300 hunters are rewriting the rules of the defense economy. These systems, which are currently going through the official codification process, will likely become standard equipment in the air defense inventory of thousands of Ukrainian units very soon after testing is completed. In short, the picture that is formed on the front lines is now quite clear. At this latest stage of the war, we are seeing artillery, missiles, and massive armored divisions being gradually replaced by AI-supported autonomous hunters clashing in the sky. Ukraine's ground-based, net-firing mechanical shields and its shotgun-armed drones lying in ambush in the air are at the very center of an asymmetric revolution in military history that has no precedent. When soldiers on the front lines look up at the sky, what they see is no longer just enemy fire, but the relentless clash of algorithms and kinetic energy. This technological war momentum is already definitively shaping the fate of future global conflicts and how armies will be structured. In the end, the side that invests in speed, innovation, and artificial intelligence will most likely become the undisputed new master of the battlefield. So what do you think about all this? Can Russia overcome this desperate situation it finds itself in against Ukraine's incredible and low-cost technological solutions? In this new era where AI-supported hunter drones dominate the entire battlefield, do you believe traditional air defense missiles are heading to the dusty shelves of history? We look forward to your comments. To make long journeys more enjoyable, we also invite you to Spotify, where we offer our video content. Thank you for choosing us. Presented by TGN.